It gladdens my heart to come and rub minds with the Prince of Nigeria. On behalf of President Bola Tinubu, I wish to warmly welcome each and every one of you to this event. This event is about selling Nigeria. It is also about selling Africa. And Nigeria has never pretended that there is an alternative to building a structure that guarantees partnerships. There is no substitute for a framework that coordinates the exchange of ideas, capital, and technology. For only such a structure redeems the welfare of our people. In this interconnected age, the wealth of any nation is not achieved through miracle. Neither is it inherited. It is engineered, and it is born of deliberate collaborations that turn risk into reforms and reforms into returns. Here in our midst is the Minister of Investment of the UAE, one of the fastest growing economies in Asia. It wasn't a miracle. It was deliberate efforts that turned a desolate desert into a mecca for tourism. Honorable Minister, well done for doing an authentic job. Nigeria offers a vista of opportunities. Beyond being the largest economy in West Africa, we are the largest consumer market in Africa with 236 million people and growing. And by 2050, we will be the third most populous nation on earth. We are going to surpass the United States. And the beauty of the Nigerian nation is that our median age is 16.9, with 58% of our population below the age of 30. So the anticipated demographic bulge, we can turn them into demographic dividends, not the much feared demographic disaster that will consume all of us. No. I always cite the study meant by comparing a global consultancy firm that said that by 2035, there will be 65 million global talent deficits. The United States, Russia, and Brazil will each suffer from 6 million talent deficits. And Nigeria is in a unique position to tap into these potentials. There are more English-speaking people in Nigeria than in India. And last year, India generated over $100 billion from BPO alone. And what was the highest we have ever earned from the process of oil? The highest Nigeria has ever earned from the process of oil was $25 billion under President Jonathan in 2011. So Nigeria provides hope. It provides a vista of opportunities. Our proximity to Europe is an advantage. And our English, I was born, bred, buttered, and toasted right in the heart of Maiduguri in northeastern Nigeria. I was educated in Nigeria, but I believe my English. Mr. John, I think you can get to hear when I'm talking. So I ask you, in President Bola Tinubu, you have a friend, you have an ally who speaks your language, the language of commerce, who understands the dynamics of modern business, who was educated here in the United States. And he's a man of courage and conviction. Hitherto, previous governments were just pushing the ball down the corridor. Nobody was willing to bite the bullet. Nobody was willing to take risk. In our first day in office, he took the greatest gamble that any Nigerian leader had ever taken in the past 50 years. It wasn't part of his speech. It was at the inauguration ceremony that he announced the withdrawal of fuel subsidy. And we know the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. The fuel subsidies scam industry in Nigeria is a very humongous industry with very huge watches. But he said, let me take the bullet from day one. The collapse of the multiple exchange rate regime that provided room for a lot of shady practices, so that you don't even need to go and engage in any productive activity like the flour mills of Nigeria are doing. No. All you need to do is to get to know the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and within 3 months you will be a billionaire. Fundamentally, it's for you to get the Forex as the official exchange rate, do the round tripping, and smile your way to the banks on the agonies of the people. But now, the collapse of the multiple exchange rate regime has revitalized the Nigerian economy. And let me tell you a short story, the story of an oil firm called Presco. 2 years ago, Presco's share was hovering in the neighborhood of 300, 400 naira per share. Now, because all the Nestles, the Cadburys, all the confectionaries, the Indomie makers have resorted to procuring their oil palm products locally, the share of Presco has grown by 247% in the past 12 months. And Presco, their first quarter profit for this year was 58 billion naira. That goes to show the vitality of the reforms, the tax reform, and most importantly, the billion-dollar investments in infrastructure. It's rubbing on well, and I'm inviting you to come and have a piece of the action. Most of our ministers speak the language of their areas of core competence. There's a young man seated here. I'm calling him a young man in spite of the fact that some are also seeing me as a young. I'm forcing myself to be young, just like the Minister of the Industry. His name is Bosun Tijani. He was an acerbic critic of our ticket. But the president had the courage and conviction. He was shopping for the best, and he happened to be one of the best. He is now making waves in our communications subsector. It's always good to get the mix right. When a fish starts getting rotten, it starts from the head. If you put an incompetent imbecile into a very strategic ministry, it's a recipe for disaster. So with all humility, our cabinet, the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu, is one of the most competent cabinets in the West African and the African region. I want to thank you most sincerely from the bottom of my heart on behalf of my boss, who ought to be here. I have a prepared speech, but I said, no, let me speak from the heart. Because sometimes when you speak from the heart, it conveys greater meaning and depth than reading a sterile prepared speech. So I want to thank you. I want you to continue believing in Nigeria, because the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa, and Nigeria will make or mar that transition. 1 out of every 4 black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, 1 out of every 3 black men will be a Nigerian. And by the end of the century, 1 out of every 2 black men will be a Nigerian. Of the 10 unicorns in Africa, about 8 are in Nigeria. Name some of them for me: Andela, Plutaweb, Money Point, Jumia, Ope. That's where the action is. Why do you have to go and waste your resources? Come to Nigeria. Our doors are open for business. We are ready for action. And I want to thank the likes of John Komantoros, who believed in Nigeria, who invested in Nigeria in our darkest hours. We celebrate you, sir. We adore you. We respect you. We value and cherish that relationship. He's a second-generation Nigerian American. Thank you so much, and I wish all of us well. Thank you.